Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows. Although it was a little cold-blooded, Su Jingxing and Shen Qian had always shared a cooperative relationship, making fair transactions. Now that Shen Qian was being targeted, Su Jingxing's first reaction was that Shen Qian was asking for help. As such, just as he was about to speak, Shen Qian, who was on the other end of the line, said again, "I would like to ask for Senior's help. If you are willing to help me, one of the Shen family's family heirlooms will be yours." "What heirloom?" asked Su Jingxing calmly. Shen Qian fell silent. A moment later, she replied with a bitter laugh, "To be honest, I don't know either. This matter happened too suddenly and it's quite complicated too. Senior, if you have time, how about we talk face to face?" "Sure," Su Jingxing continued to respond calmly. "See you at the bridge on the north bank of the Sky Water River in half an hour." "All right, Senior," replied Shen Qian quickly. "See you in half an hour." After hanging up, Su Jingxing tossed his phone in surprise. Shen Qian was in a life-and-death situation. On account of their many pleasant collaborations, Su Jingxing didn't mind helping her once. But only this time. After this, Su Jingxing would cut off all contact with her and never interact with her again. Unexpectedly, Shen Qian was very smart and directly stated that this was a deal. He helped, and Shen Qian would give him a family heirloom. If Shen Qian's family heirloom was good, or even powerful, like Thunderbolt, naturally, Su Jingxing wouldn't refuse the deal. The descendants of martial artists might not necessarily be martial artists. Similarly, the descendants of ordinary people might not necessarily be ordinary people. On Earth Star, anything was possible. Family heirlooms were never an exception. There was nothing surprising about the fact that Shen Qian's ancestors were well off. What interested Su Jingxing was what exactly was the treasure. Ordinary things wouldn't threaten one's life. After pondering for a moment, Su Jingxing suppressed his doubts, took out his cloak and mask, and put them on. He left the house, soared into the air, and rushed to the appointed location. There were not many cars on the bridge at night, but there were many people. After Su Jingxing arrived, he waited for a while and saw Shen Qian rushing over. I'm sorry. I'm late." She lowered her head in fear and apologized. "It's okay." Su Jingxing lowered his voice and said calmly, "It's not the agreed time yet, so you're not late. There's no need to talk about this anymore. Tell me what happened to you." All right. Shen Qian took a deep breath to calm herself down. "Let's talk over there." Su Jingxing stepped down the steps and arrived at the riverbank. He walked along the riverbank and into the distance. Shen Qian quickly followed. At the same time, she thought for a while before introducing. "Here's what happened. 3 days ago, an uncle I have in the capital suddenly came to my door and asked for an item. At the very beginning, my family lived in the capital. When my grandfather was young, he came to Qinghe City. He settled down here and stayed for decades. When it came to me, I was already a local of Qinghe. According to the family register, this uncle who came knocking on my door is only related to my grandfather's grandfather generation. They were cousins. By the time it reached my generation, the two sides had long since lost contact. In fact, if he hadn't come knocking on my door, I wouldn't even know that my Shen family's roots came from the capital. All this time, I thought I was from Qinghe. I didn't expect. Therefore, when this uncle from the capital came to me and asked me for an item, I had no idea what he was talking about. It was only after this uncle repeatedly reminded me that I recalled it was something on my grandfather, a circular ring. I was still young then, about 5 or 6 years old. At that time, because I was mischievous, when Grandpa was tidying up the cabinets, I saw a circular ring on the side. I took it out and ran away. I remember very clearly. At that time, Grandpa was furious. He caught up to me and shouted at me. I was terrified and had nightmares for several consecutive nights. I cried the moment I saw Grandpa. After that, my parents brought me out to live for a few years. I only saw Grandpa again when I was a few years older. Although I was still a little afraid of him, I did not break down again. Moreover, Grandpa apologized to me and played with me every day. He brought me to eat good food. That was how we got close again. A few years later, when I was in high school, Grandpa suddenly came to me one day and told me about the circular ring. He said that the ring is a family heirloom of the Shin family. Those who are not direct descendants cannot be told about it, nor can they inherit. According to the family rules, the circular ring in Grandpa's hand was to be passed down to my younger brother. It has always been the Shin family's rule to pass down heirlooms to sons and not daughters. However, because Grandpa was feeling guilty that he scared me when I was young, he decided to pass the circular ring to me. At first, I was indeed very happy. I had to look at it every night before I went to bed. But after looking at it for several years, I didn't find anything. The family heirloom didn't show any signs of being a treasure, so I gave it to my younger brother. Of course, before I gave it to him, I took many photos. A few years later, because of the Sure family, my family was broken up. My parents and younger brother passed on, and because I gave the ring to my younger brother, I didn't know where he hid it. From then on, it disappeared. I also forgot about it. It wasn't until 3 days ago when this uncle from the capital came knocking on my door that I recalled and dug out a photo. At this point, Shen Qian stopped talking and took out a few photos, handing them to Su Jingxing. Su Jingxing took them. Without going under the street lamp, he activated his secret ability, night vision, and looked at the circular ring in the photos. At first glance, it looked like a bracelet. However, upon closer inspection, one could tell that this bracelet was extremely special. The photo taken by Shen Qian was quite high definition, so he could get a clear look of the patterns on the circular ring. Su Jingxing looked at these patterns one by one and pieced them together in his mind. He found them to be very magical. It was like an incantation or a mental cultivation technique. From this, it could be seen that the Shen family's circular ring was no ordinary item. The family heirloom was indeed a treasure. As for what kind of treasure it was unclear. He had to see the real thing to judge. This uncle from the capital wants me to hand over the circular ring. Shen Qian continued, but it has long disappeared. I don't even know where it is. How can I give it to him? Even if he is willing to give me $100 million, I don't have the circular ring. I told him the truth. He didn't believe me. Of course, at the beginning, he didn't really force me. He just wanted me to think about it carefully. If 100 million isn't enough, he could give me $300 million. The next day, he came to me again. He asked me for the circular ring and raised the price to $1 billion. I wanted to give it to him, but I didn't know where it was and couldn't give it to him. This time, he got angry. He scolded me for not knowing what was good for me and threatened that I was courting death. But in the end, he said that he would give me another chance. On the third day, I still didn't give him the circular ring. He finally took action and released a bangle to wrap around my neck. Wait, interrupted Su Jingxing. You said that your uncle from the capital also has a circular ring in his possession? Yes. Shen Qian gritted her teeth and said, he also has one in his possession. It's exactly the same as the one I once had. At that time, I thought that he had gotten the circular ring I lost. But the truth was he hadn't. It was another one. The ancestors of the Shen family had passed down a total of 2 circular rings. One was left in the capital, and the other was brought to Qinghe City by my grandfather. I gave the one in Qinghe City to my younger brother. It was lost because of the Sure family. The one in the capital, however, has been preserved until today and has fallen into the hands of that uncle. He came to me because he wanted to gather both of them. According to him, the 2 circular rings can fuse into one to give powerful strength, the kind that can kill even martial artists in the top ranks. He wrapped the ring around my neck until I stopped breathing and passed out. When I woke up, he left a message saying that he doesn't see the circular ring the next time we meet, he won't show any mercy. He would take my life. I can feel that he's not lying. If I still can't produce the circular ring tomorrow morning, he will really kill me. At the end of her sentence, Shen Qian's voice trembled and her body shuddered. The blood drained from her face as fear filled her eyes. Clearly, she had not forgotten the feeling of suffocation and passing out. She didn't want to experience that feeling again. I thought about escaping. Shen Qian said in a trembling voice, but he left a hidden fragrance on me. No matter where I hide, he can find me. I don't want to die, so I contacted you to make a deal. Kill your uncle. Su Jingxing continued. That's right. Shen Qian took a deep breath, gritted her teeth and said hatefully, since he wants my life, why can't I take his? Although I'm not his match, I believe that you can do it. As long as you help me kill him, the circular ring in his possession will be yours. I will also search for the lost one. Once I find it, I will also hand it to you. Heh, Su Jingxing chuckled but did not agree immediately. Seeing this, Shen Qian gritted her teeth and said, other than the ring, it also includes me. As long as you kill him, I'm willing to serve senior from now on and be your love. Enough, Su Jingxing cut her off irritably. If I wanted to sleep with you, do you think you can escape? Shen Qian lowered her head, her face flushed red. She did not dare to speak again. That's right, if Su Jingxing wanted to sleep with her, Shen Qian alone would not be able to resist. Of course, if Su Jingxing really wanted that, Shen Qian would not be against it. It wasn't that she was lecherous or liked Su Jingxing because he was handsome. It was purely because Su Jingxing was powerful enough and not too old. Judging from his voice, he was probably in his 30s or 40s. Sleeping with such an expert for a night wouldn't be a loss for her. If she could build a relationship with him because of this, she would have a backer in the future. To Shen Qian, she was the only one left after her family was destroyed. What she lacked the most was a sense of security. After the Stone Annihilation Alliance was disbanded, she took the lead and reorganized a group of people. They were willing to work for Su Jingxing. Su Jingxing had always traded with them. Every time they completed a mission, he would give them a large sum of money. But deep down, Shen Qian had always wanted to serve Su Jingxing for free and receive his protection. For an ordinary person, this was a huge opportunity. If she could improve her relationship with Su Jingxing, Shen Qian would not be against it. Now that he said it, she was even a little happy. She became even more embarrassed. Although he did not say anything else, the atmosphere became inexplicably ambiguous. Su Jingxing was speechless. You're not my type. Su Jingxing reminded irritably, shaking his head. So, please don't think too much. If she didn't know how powerful Su Jingxing was, she would have flown into a rage. Are you looking down on me? Not your type. Heh heh. Even though Shen Qian was never narcissistic, she had always maintained her face and figure very well. She was very feminine. It was possible that Su Jingxing didn't like her type. But not wanting to sleep with her, heh heh. Cough. Su Jingxing coughed lightly. His voice was infused with true energy and shook one's mind. Shen Qian, who was letting her imagination run wild, shuddered and sobered up abruptly. Immediately, her face turned even redder. Su Jingxing couldn't be bothered to argue with her. What realm is your uncle in? Does he have any helpers? What realm? I don't know. Shen Qian held back her embarrassment and said in a low voice, I haven't seen a single helper. Every time he comes to me, he's alone. In that case. Suddenly, Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows and stopped in his tracks. Is that him? What? Shen Qian was puzzled and looked up at Su Jingxing. She saw Su Jingxing look ahead and lifted her head to look into the distance. She saw a familiar figure standing by the river, staring at her. Instantly, her face turned pale. That's right, it's him. Why is he here? It's obvious that he has been following you. Su Jingxing chuckled. His powerful perception allowed him to sense the other party's aura from 100 meters away. He isn't in the top ranks. The aura of true essence was very special. If one did not deliberately disguise or conceal it, it was very easy for people of the same realm to sense it. Even though Shen Qian's uncle had also concealed his aura, it was not thorough enough. Ordinary martial artists might not be able to sense it, but Su Jingxing could. 4th grade. A 4th grade expert targeted Shen Qian, who was an ordinary person. It's indeed been hard on her. This bastard, Shen Qian gritted her teeth, her expression becoming extremely ugly. What a coincidence. The uncle, who was of medium build and had a thin and long face, walked over slowly when he saw that Shen Qian had spotted him. My good niece, you're very free at night, aren't you? You came for a walk by the river with a friend. What's your friend's name? It has nothing to do with you. Shen Qian said through gritted teeth, what do you mean by this? Didn't I say I'll give it to you tomorrow morning? Hee, I was just afraid that you would be in danger, my dear niece. The uncle chuckled. Or perhaps you've been cheated. As your uncle, I have to help you out no matter what, right? By the way, I'm Shen Tang. May I know your name? He looked at Su Jingxing, his eyes shining. Shen Qian said that if I kill you, I'll get the treasure in your possession. Instead of answering, Su Jingxing asked, what do you think about that? Swish. Shen Qian's face turned pale. She didn't expect Su Jingxing to say this directly. Shen Tang was stunned for a moment before he smiled. No problem. Buzz. The air suddenly vibrated. A huge translucent palm imprint suddenly appeared out of thin air. It covered Shen Tang and pressed him to the ground, creating a pit. More than half of his bones were broken, and Shen Tang, who was spurting blood, was sprawled at the bottom of the pit, dumbfounded. Really? Shen Tang had never taken Shen Qian seriously. If not for the circular ring, he wouldn't even bother to look at her. The Shen family was a family with a history of many years and had successfully gained a foothold in the capital. Back then, when Shen Qian's grandfather left and moved to Qinghe City, he basically had nothing to do with the Shen family anymore. To put it simply, Shen Tang represented the direct line, while Shen Qian represented the collateral line. It would be a disgrace to the Shen family for such a marginal figure to be called a Shen. Because of this, Shen Tang thought nothing of Shen Qian. After arriving at Qinghe City, he did a series of investigations. She was the only one left after her family died. At that time, Shen Tang did not even have the thought of taking revenge. Even though the culprit who caused the destruction of their family, the Shi family, had already perished. Shen Tang did not feel anything. He had come to Qinghe City only for the circular ring. As for the fate of Shen Qian's family, it had nothing to do with him. For an ordinary office worker like Shen Qian, the best connections she could have were 9th-grade martial artists. Would Shen Tang be afraid of a 9th-grade martial artist? What a joke. Therefore, when Su Jingxing said that he wanted to kill him and take the circular ring, not only was Shen Tang not afraid, he even felt like laughing. However, a palm strike suddenly fell from the sky, smashing Shen Tang to the ground and creating a huge pit. Shen Tang was severely injured. He did not expect this at all. This sudden change caused Shen Tang to feel intense pain all over her body. However, he momentarily forgot about the pain and his mind went blank. I am the second master of the capital's Shen family, the next patriarch of the Shen family, a 4th-grade expert, Shen Tang. I was actually struck to the ground and sunk into a pit. I'm a 4th-grade expert. How could I be defenseless? No, more like I didn't sense anything from the beginning to the end. How? How did this happen? Third grade? Yes, third grade. The cloaked man is a third-grade martial artist. Shen Qian actually knows a third-grade expert and was able to get him to help her. This damn B** starred, she actually. Ah. Ha. Ha. Intense pain swept through his entire body. Shen Tang finally recovered from his shock, confusion, disbelief, and anger. He opened her mouth to scream, but his injuries were too severe. His blood and qi surged, and he couldn't even howl. All he could do was stifle a low snarl that sounded like he was panting. His wide eyes were bloodshot. He raised his head stiffly and stared at Su Jingxing. You were the one who said that it's no problem, said Su Jingxing calmly. He continued, you already said that there would be no problem. Of course I have to fulfill your wish, right? Pooh. Shen Tang coughed up a mouthful of blood. The vital energy in his body weakened once again. The three of them were in an area far away from the crowd. Although the sound from earlier had attracted the attention of a few people in the distance, as there was no follow-up, they only took a few glances before looking away. As a result, no one bothered Su Jingxing, Shen Qian, and Shen Tang. No one cared whether Shen Tang growled or spat blood. Shen Qian, who was the only one who was shocked and stunned, almost clapped her hands in joy when she came back to her senses. Over the past few days, Shen Tang's coercion, bribery, and undisguised cold-killing intent had tortured her physically and mental. She was fearful, terrified, and uneasy, wishing she could end her own life. Su Jingxing's palm had expelled all the gloom in her heart. What is the circular ring? She took a deep breath and ran over. Looking at Shen Tang, she asked, why is it that none of you came to look for it all these years, yet you appeared these few days? Cough, cough. Shen Tang coughed up blood and said with difficulty, you think I'll tell you? It's okay if you don't want to tell me. Su Jingxing interrupted. I'm giving you a chance to speak and leave behind your last words. Since you don't want to speak, fine. I can send you to meet the ancestors of your Shen family. As he spoke, the true energy transformed from the true essence in his palm swirled and was aimed at Shen Tang's head. In an instant, a terrifying sense of danger enveloped him. Shen Tang, who still wanted to be stubborn, surrendered. No, I'll speak. He could sense that Su Jingxing wasn't joking. He really wanted to kill him. Compared to his life, a moment of cowardice and shame was nothing. I'll speak. Shen Tang panted and said with difficulty, once I do, let me off. If you don't agree, then kill me. I'll die anyway. Su Jingxing looked at Shen Qian. Sure. Shen Qian gritted her teeth. As long as you tell me the truth, I won't kill you. Shen Tang slowed down his breathing and spoke slowly. Someone came to me and told me about it. He said that one of the Shen family's 2 circular rings is in Qinghe City. That person provided me with your information and the relevant situation. After I came over and investigated, I realized that it was indeed the case, so I had the idea to capture you and take back the circular ring. Who is that person? Asked Shen Qian. Zhang Ziyue. Zhang Ziyue. Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows. Is this person from the Sky Water Chamber of Commerce? Yes. Shen Tang nodded. Zhang Ziyue, the previous president of the Sky Water Chamber of Commerce, a 4th-grade martial artist. 5 years ago, after he stepped down from his position as president, he went to the capital. I got to know him by chance. After interacting from time to time over the past few years, our relationship has been pretty good. A few days ago, he said that he received news that one of the Shen family's 2 circular rings appeared in Qinghe City and gave me information about Shen Qian. After that, I secretly investigated and realized that it was true. Whoosh! Suddenly, Su Jingxing's figure swayed and disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he had another person in his hand. Su Jingxing grabbed the other party's neck with one hand and held him in midair. He said, "Is this guy one of yours or Zhang Ziyue's?" Shen Tang was stunned. Shen Qian was also a little dazed. Too fast. Su Jingxing disappeared and reappeared in less than 3 seconds. And he came back with a person. Shen Qian had no impression of this old man who was being held by his neck. On the other hand, when Shen Tang came back to his senses, his expression was ugly. He growled, "He's one of Zhang Ziyue's men. The old fellow is Zhang Ziyue's lackey. I've seen him from afar twice. He's nearby. The old fellow is monitoring me. D****, there's something wrong with Zhang Ziyue. Don't you think it's too late to realize that now?" asked Su Jingxing coolly. The old fellow had concealed his aura and vital energy completely. He had most likely cultivated some secret concealment ability. As a result, Shen Qian did not realize. Shen Tang, who was in the 4th grade, also did not notice for a while. However, Su Jingxing's soul power was powerful and his perception range was wide. When the old fellow appeared in the small forest across the river, he sensed it immediately. He was monitoring Shen Tang and himself at the same time. There was clearly something wrong. What does Zhang Ziyue want? What does he want? Shen Tang murmured, shame and anger appearing on his pale face. He was unaware that the old fellow had appeared. What did this mean? This meant that he had been under their surveillance for the past few days. A dignified 4th grade expert was actually being followed and monitored by a 7th grade martial artist without knowing. He, a 4th grade martial artist, had been completely humiliated. That's right, the old man who tailed Shen Tang was only in the 7th grade. Shen Tang had even personally asked Zhang Ziyue before. Why did he take in such a low-grade martial artist as his follower? At that time, Shen Tang had even mocked Zhang Ziyue. He took in anyone. Now he understood that he ought to be the one being mocked. The old man's ability to conceal himself was too impressive. So impressive that even he, a 4th grade martial artist, could not detect it. Zhang Ziyue was lucky to have the old man as his follower. Huff. Huff. Shen Tang panted and looked up at the old man in Su Jingxing's arms with difficulty. He questioned through gritted teeth, "Zhang Ziyue told you to follow me, what are you monitoring?" The old man kicked his feet and grabbed Su Jingxing's arm with both hands. He kept struggling, but it was useless. Shen Tang's question was ignored. While struggling, he suddenly stomped his feet and black blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. He was no longer breathing. Killed himself? Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows and relaxed his grip. He allowed the old man's corpse to slide to the ground and extracted a card. He's dead. Shen Qian's face turned pale. He committed S***icide by taking poison. D***m. Shen Tang snarled indignantly, clenching his fists. You can die too. Su Jingxing lifted his leg and it landed heavily. No, no, no. You promised me that you would let me off once I spoke, Shen Tang shouted in fear. Bang! With a dull thud, he stepped on Shen Tang's back and he stopped breathing. Shen Qian was the one who promised you, not me. Su Jingxing extracted another card and squatted down to search Shen Tang's corpse. As expected, he found a circular ring on him. Compared to the photos, the real thing was even more mysterious. The patterns on it were full of mysteries. Not too bad. Su Jingxing stood up with the circular ring in his hand and said coolly to the stunned Shen Qian, "Find the other ring as soon as possible." Yes, yes. Shen Qian snapped out of her daze and hurriedly nodded. I'll definitely find it as soon as possible. Contact me immediately after you find it. Before that, find a place and hide yourself. With that, Su Jingxing picked up the two corpses and soared into the night sky, disappearing into the horizon. Although Shen Qian could still call the crematorium to deal with the corpses if he had left them behind, since this concerned the Shen family in the capital, the crematorium would register the information. Once the Shen family in the capital learned that Shen Tang had died in Qinghe City, there was a 99% chance that they would come to Qinghe City to cause trouble for Shen Qian. Since he had agreed to the deal, Su Jingxing didn't mind going all the way and helping to get rid of future troubles. Shen Tang had secretly come to look for Shen Qian. Now, he was dead and the person monitoring him was also dead. Apart from Zhang Ziyue, no one knew that Shen Tang's death was related to Shen Qian. As long as he could find Zhang Ziyue and kill him, all future troubles would be resolved. Of course, it would be best if he could figure out Zhang Ziyue's motive for inducing Shen Tang. Su Jingxing had never seen Zhang Ziyue before. All he knew was his name and photo, which he had seen online. He didn't know how long it would take to search for Zhang Ziyue blindly. But that would be different if his location was deduced using the secret heavenly arts. Although the 6 comets records that Yu Donglu intentionally left behind had been tampered, Su Jingxing had seen his memories of tampering with it. By avoiding the hidden branches, he could easily circulate the 6 comets records. He would use the 6 comets records to divine Zhang Ziyue's hiding place before going to him. That would save time and effort. With this in mind, Su Jingxing returned to his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain. After burning the 2 corpses to ashes, he took out the 2 cards he had extracted and quickly read them. He had extracted a skill card from Shen Tang. It recorded a martial art called the Brilliant Sun Fist, which was of a very high grade. Unsurprisingly, it was the ultimate technique of the Shen family in the capital. Su Jingxing looked at it for a while and put it away temporarily. He was in no hurry to unlock and absorb it. Then there was the card from the old man, a memory card. Su Jingxing unlocked it and read the contents. His expression froze. The memory card contained 40 years of the old man's memories. This included how his family was in ruins, how he was homeless, how he was rescued by Zhang Ziyue, and how he pledged his life and loyalty to Zhang Ziyue. With Zhang Ziyue's support, he cultivated martial arts and became a martial artist. Among them, he was best at concealment and tracking. For nearly 20 years, relying on this martial art, Fu Jingquan, the old man, had helped Zhang Zai stalk dozens of people. Each time, he had successfully completed his mission. As long as the target wasn't an expert in the top ranks, Fu Jingquan could follow and monitor them from afar without anyone noticing. This time, he was unlucky to have met Su Jingxing and was caught. In the past, Fu Jingquan had never failed when stalking a 4th-grade martial artist. He followed Shen Tang to keep an eye on him meeting with other people. Mainly Shen Qian. Or rather, the circular rings in Shen Tang and Shen Qian's possession. Fu Jingquan's real target was the Shen family's circular rings. This was also Zhang Ziyue's goal, to get the Shen family's 2 circular rings. In fact, there were more than 2 such rings. There were a total of 9 of them. They had a nice name, the 9 soul rings. According to what Fu Jingquan had heard from Zhang Ziyue, the 9 soul rings was a rare treasure that had disappeared for 1,000 years. It was a powerful weapon in the mental and soul aspect. By combining 2 rings, one could ignore the pressure of martial art true intent. The fusion of 3 rings could defeat martial art true intent. When 4 rings were combined, the explosive power could disintegrate martial art true intent. In short, the more rings there were, the stronger the combined power would be. If one could gather all 9 rings, the power he would release would be enough to defeat a martial sage. This was what Fu Jingquan had heard from Zhang Ziyue. Whether it was true or false, there was no way to know. The 9 soul rings had disappeared for too long. Moreover, more than 1,000 years ago, the 9 rings had been separated. No one knew where they were. Zhang Ziyue had also learned of the existence of the 9 soul rings by chance and obtained one of them. Then, he dug deeper and learned the whereabouts of the remaining 8 bangles. 2 were with the Shen family, 2 were with Si Wujio from the Tianlong Chamber of Commerce, and 1 was with the Li family. The Li family of Qinghe City. That's right. Si Wujio's motive in attacking the Li family and putting on an act the last time was to lure out something. Now, Su Jingxing knew what it was. So Zhang Zai knew about Si Wujio's existence, and Si Wujio also knew about Zhang Ziyue's existence. No, to be precise, Si Wujio knew that someone was plotting to get the 9 soul rings. He didn't know who it was, so he pretended to attack the Li family. What was the most important treasure of the Li family? It was not the 7 calamities will mantra, but a circular ring that Emperor Yu had bestowed to Li Nongtang. In order to unleash the full potential of the 9 soul rings, not a single one could be excluded. Si Wujio pretended to attack the Li family because he wanted to send a message to the person who was scheming to get the 9 soul rings that he was also seizing them. This was to force out the mastermind, to alert the enemy. Yet, never in his wildest dreams would Si Wujio expect this. Although Zhang Ziyue was shocked by him, he did not approach the Li family or Si Wujio. Instead, he induced Shen Tang to come to Qinghe City to look for Shen Qian. What he was plotting to get weren't the circular rings in the hands of the Li family and Si Wujio, but the double rings of the Shen family. Compared to Shen Tang, Zhang Ziyue's understanding of Shen Qian was much deeper. Shen Qian was indeed just an ordinary office worker. But last year, apart from being an office worker, Shen Qian was also a core member of the Stone Annihilation Alliance. She shared a close relationship with the 4th grade expert, the guest elder Lin who had wiped out the Shi family. In Fu Jingquan's memories, Zhang Ziyue was very wary of guest elder Lin. It was also because of guest elder Lin that Zhang Ziyue did not dare to make a move on Shen Qian directly, and instead, made use of Shen Tang. If not for the potential threat of guest elder Lin, Zhang Ziyue would have come in personally and forced Shen Qian to hand over the circular ring. After Shen Tang came to Qinghe City, Zhang Ziyue's mission to Fu Jingquan, apart from keeping an eye on Shen Tang, was also to find guest elder Lin. Guest elder Lin was too mysterious. Ever since the destruction of the Shi family, he had disappeared without a trace and no one had seen him again. Zhang Ziyue's style of doing things had always been planning before acting. Unless he was absolutely certain, he would not make a move. The two matters of watching Shen Tang and finding guest elder Lin became the key. For so many years, Fu Jingquan had never failed. Zhang Ziyue was confident in him. Now that Fu Jingquan had failed and half of his memories were read by Su Jingxing, Zhang Ziyue had reached his end too. Su Jingxing learned about his character, as well as some dirty secrets, including his residence in Qinghe City. Originally, he had wanted to use the heavenly secret arts to deduce his location. Now that Fu Jingquan's memories were out, it saved him a lot of trouble. Putting aside the fact that Zhang Ziyue was the mastermind and had to be killed, just the fact that he had a circular ring in his possession meant that Su Jingxing had to take care of him. With this in mind, Su Jingxing quickly got up and rushed to Zhang Ziyue's residence. He soared into the sky and put on his cloak and mask while on the way. His direction of flight, the Southern District. Qinghe City, Southern District. In the innermost corner of a luxurious villa estate, on the balcony of a single villa, Zhang Ziyue, who was dressed in casual wear, laid on a recliner. He held a glass of wine in his hand and looked at the moonlight, patiently waiting for the good news. Elder Fu should be back by now. Zhang Ziyue leisurely took a sip of wine and said excitedly, 2 from the Shen family, 1 from the Li family, and 2 from Si Wujio. Including the one in my hand, that makes 6. Gathering 6 of the 9 soul rings is enough. What a pity. I'm afraid I won't be able to get the 2 in Si Wujio's hands. Zhang Ziyue sighed. Si Wujio was a 3rd-grade martial artist. It was too difficult and unrealistic to plot against the circular rings in his possession. Pity. It is indeed a pity. A voice broke the silence. Who's there? Zhang Ziyue's pupils constricted. He jumped up from his reclining position. You're being so sneaky. I wonder. Buzz. The air surged as a terrifying suppression descended from the sky and covered the entire villa. This frightening suppressive force was like a mountain pressing down on Zhang Ziyue's body. He did not even last 3 seconds before he fell to his knees on the ground. Finally, he fell flat on his face, unable to move. The invisible but substantial pressure even made it difficult for him to catch his breath. And this was done on purpose by Su Jingxing. He was in the 4th grade, and lived in a high-end villa estate. There was no need to attract the attention of others. Su Jingxing landed lightly and came to Zhang Ziyue's side. He looked down at him and said, President Zhang, what a good plan. Senior, please spare me. Zhang Ziyue struggled to speak, his face filled with suppressed anger. He gritted his teeth and said, I don't know. I don't know how I offended you. I hope you can forgive me. If possible, please tell me. I am willing to apologize and I will definitely satisfy you. That's great. Su Jingxing chuckled. I don't want anything else but your life. Zhang Ziyue's body trembled. He shouted in grief and indignation, Why? Why? Su Jingxing released his perception to make sure that no one was paying attention here. He said in a low voice, You've already sent people to look for me. Why are you still asking? Look. Look for you. Zhang Ziyue was puzzled. UAR, Guest Elder Lin. You guys call me Guest Elder Lin, said Su Jingxing coolly. Buzz. Zhang Ziyue felt dizzy and his mind went blank. Guest Elder Lin. It's actually the mysterious Guest Elder Lin. The missing Guest Elder Lin who destroyed the Shi family. This Guest Elder Lin is actually in the 3rd grade. He was in the 4th grade last year, but already advanced to the 3rd grade this year. Zhang Ziyue would never have thought that the Guest Elder Lin he instructed his men to search for had already become an expert in the top ranks. Now that Guest Elder Lin had come knocking on his door, it was obvious that Elder Fu had already gone ahead to meet his ancestors. Fear, despair, and shock overwhelmed him. Zhang Ziyue, whose thoughts were in turmoil, suddenly sobered up. He sprawled on the ground and howled with difficulty. Guest Elder Lin, please spare my life, please spare my life. I was wrong, I was wrong, I was wrong. As long as you spare my life, I am willing to work like an ox for you. From now on, I will listen to your orders and I am willing to. Bang! With a dull thud, Zhang Ziyue's words came to an abrupt halt. Su Jingxing crushed Zhang Ziyue's heart with a stomp and extracted a card. Su Jingxing squatted down and searched Zhang Ziyue's body for the circular ring he carried with him. Then, he released his true energy and wrapped it around Zhang Ziyue's corpse. He leaped into the air and disappeared into the night. He found a remote corner and released his true energy to incinerate Zhang Ziyue's corpse. Su Jingxing returned to his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain. On the way, he took out the card he had extracted from Zhang Ziyue's corpse and held it in his palm to read the information. Deduction card. 3 deduction chances, each of them with a 50% success rate. I couldn't tell that Zhang Ziyue was a genius who created his own martial arts. Su Jingxing had no idea what kind of martial arts he had created. Since it wasn't a memory card, he had no way of knowing. Of course, he was already very satisfied with this deduction card. He was in need of a deduction card to deduce martial arts and secret abilities. Back at his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain, Su Jingxing took out 2 rings he had obtained and examined them carefully. He believed that someone must already have tried burning and boiling them long ago. Same thing with channeling internal force and true energy. Even if it was true essence, there were probably people who had tried it. Of course, just in case, Su Jingxing still held the rings in his hand and released his true essence to envelop them, waiting for a reaction. Nothing abnormal happened. The rings ignored the true essence. All that was left was a mental examination and even integration into the rings. From the name, one could tell how special the 9 soul rings were. Su Jingxing condensed his mental power and slowly wrapped it around the rings before penetrating in. No. He had no problem with wrapping around the rings, but he could not penetrate them and find out the secrets. It was not that Su Jingxing did not have enough soul power, but there was an invisible and colorless energy layer protecting the surface of the 2 rings. Without breaking this layer of energy membrane or removing it, it was impossible to grasp them. Melt using true essence. Su Jingxing stopped and looked at the circular rings, deep in thought. With the protection of the energy layer, it was safest to melt it with true essence. But that also consumed true essence and time. Oh yes, I'll ask Brother Goose for help. Suddenly, Su Jingxing recalled the big white goose's innate ability to make all hidden existences appear under its fluorescent glow. It had been a while since he last saw the big white goose. This was a good opportunity to go catch up. With the help of the big white goose, he could save most of his energy and time. With this in mind, Su Jingxing put away the 2 circular rings, ate an essence energy pill, and headed out again. He soared into the sky and flew towards the Green Cloud Mountain range. Under the night sky, his figure streaked across the sky like a wild goose. It was dark when he arrived at the big white goose's valley. This didn't affect Su Jingxing at all. He activated his secret ability, night vision. Once he entered the valley, he looked down and scanned the valley to search for the big white goose. Brother Goose, I'm here. Where are you? Infusing true energy into his voice, it echoed in the valley. Su Jingxing shouted as he searched for the big white goose. However, after shouting for a long time and searching the entire valley 3 times, the big white goose was nowhere to be seen. He did not see the big white goose the last time he was here, and neither did he this time. Did the big white goose move locations? Su Jingxing stopped searching and floated in the air, deep in thought. The big white goose is missing, and it will be quite troublesome to find it. Ask the giant silver-winged wolf. The 2 of them have a good relationship. If the big white goose had moved, the giant silver-winged wolf would know where it was, right? With this in mind, Su Jingxing's figure flashed and soared into the sky, flying towards the giant silver-winged wolf's lair. The night wind blew, circling the sky. Su Jingxing rushed to the air above the giant silver-winged wolf's lair at his fastest speed and called out, "Brother Wolf." His voice was also infused with true energy, allowing the giant silver-winged wolf to hear him clearly. As expected, in less than 10 seconds, a figure charged into the sky. A pair of silver wings was especially dazzling and eye-catching under the moonlight. Ah-ooh! Seeing that it was Su Jingxing, the giant silver-winged wolf's eyes lit up. It lifted its head and let out a long, low growl. Ah-ooh, ah-ooh dash. I missed you too. You didn't recognize me the last time I saw you, said Su Jingxing with a smile. How about this, I'll show you my. Ah-ooh. 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 However, the giant silver-winged wolf suddenly began shouting. As it cried, it flapped its wings and jumped up and down to send a message. Su Jingxing understood what it meant. His expression changed and he asked in a low voice, "You said that Brother Goose has been captured?" Ah-ooh. The giant silver-winged wolf nodded hard, bared its teeth, and growled angrily. Ah-ooh. They used poison said Su Jingxing grimly. The other party used poison to force you to escape and then captured Brother Goose. Very good. Brother Wolf, don't worry. I'll get Brother Goose back. Ah-ooh. The giant silver-winged wolf flew up and down, flapping its wings and growled with the same hatred. Sure, you'll come with me, Su Jingxing said. The big white goose had actually been captured. No wonder he hadn't seen it on the last 2 occasions. Had it not been for the giant silver-winged wolf, Su Jingxing wouldn't have known that the big white goose had fallen into someone else's hands. Compared to the others, the big white goose was very helpful to him. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was the most important. Now that the big white goose had fallen into the hands of humans, Su Jingxing had to save it no matter what. But the question was, who had captured it? The giant silver-winged wolf was forced to escape and did not give chase. It did not know where the big white goose had been taken. To save the big white goose, he had to know where it was first. Looking for the unknown. Oh right, divination. Su Jingxing had originally wanted to cultivate Yudonglio's 6 comets records, but he had set it down after obtaining the memory card. Now, it seemed that there was no escaping it. He would cultivate the 6 comets records and find out where the big white goose was. Brother Wolf, keep guard for me. I have to do something before I go look for Brother Goose. Su Jingxing called out to the giant silver-winged wolf as he pulled up the information of the 6 comets records in his mind. Ah ooh. The giant silver-winged wolf nodded cooperatively and flew ahead, leading Su Jingxing to a hidden empty space. After landing, the giant silver-winged wolf guarded the surroundings. Su Jingxing sat down on a smooth stone in the empty space and cultivated the 6 comets records. Yu Donglu had tampered with the 6 comets records, and he had to correct the wrongs before he cultivated it. After 2 hours, Su Jingxing began cultivating. The cultivation of heavenly secret arts depended on the key of the arts and the strength of the person's soul power. If one's soul power was powerful, his cultivation speed would be much faster. Of course, perception and comprehension ability were also essential. In this aspect, Su Jingxing's soul power had become much stronger than before. Therefore, his cultivation of the 6 comets records progressed very quickly. It only took him 2 days to reach the introductory stage. As soon as he did, Su Jingxing took out a feather that had once fallen from the big white goose. Using the feather as a medium, he divined the location of the big white goose. When one cultivated the heavenly secret arts to a high level, divination and deduction could be carried without the need for a medium. Su Jingxing was only in the introductory stage, so a medium was necessary. The 6 comets records was left behind by Yu Donglu. Even though he had tampered with it, its level was extremely high, and its elaboration of the heavenly secret arts was extremely profound. Otherwise, Lu Wuchang wouldn't have specially come to Qinghe City for it. Given Lu Wuchang's terrifying intuition talent, the tricks Yu Donglu had done with the 6 comets records would be completely ineffective. By now, Lu Wuchang had pretty much mastered the 6 comets records. Su Jingxing was doing divination when he had just reached the introductory stage, so it consumed the most soul power, but he couldn't care less now. The big white goose had been captured for more than a month. If he still did not rescue it, who knew what it would become? If he was forcefully tamed, it would be too late for Su Jingxing to cry. I have to end this quickly. Great consumption of soul power, so be it. At the introductory stage, circulating the 6 comets records consumed a large amount of soul power every second. However, the effect was very obvious. In a few moments, he locked onto the location. Qinghe City. The big white goose was captured and brought to Qinghe City. Keep going deeper, northwards. No, to be precise, it was the northern district of Qinghe City. The map of Qinghe City's northern district that had materialized in his mind zoomed in bit by bit and locked onto the final destination. He got closer and closer. Finally, when Su Jingxing felt a sharp pain in his head and had to stop, he successfully locked onto the big white goose's exact location. The Qi family's residence. The big white goose was actually in the Qi residence. The Qi family, who made a name for themselves and gained a foothold by taming beasts, and became one of the 5 major martial arts families. The big white goose had actually been captured by the Qi family. On second thought, the Qi family was indeed the most likely candidate. The big white goose was a spiritual beast. If someone from the Qi family saw it, they would definitely want it. Since forcefully capturing it wouldn't work, they knocked it out first. Given the Qi family's attainments in beast taming research, these methods were probably frequently used. The giant silver-winged wolf managed to escape thanks to its speed. The big white goose was at a disadvantage in this aspect. Although it could fly, it couldn't fly very fast and had a higher chance of getting caught. Brother Wolf, I found Brother Goose. After resting for a moment and recovering a little, Su Jingxing got up and called out to the giant silver-winged wolf, let's go and bring Brother Goose back together. Ah-oo! Qinghe City. The City Defense Surveillance Center. In the spacious hall, dozens of staff members operated each other's computers. Through cameras, monitors, and drones, they scanned the surroundings of Qinghe City repeatedly, the movements on all sides, as well as the major roads and areas in the city. Including the flow speed of the Sky-Water River and abnormalities in the Green Cloud Mountain Range. The Green Cloud Mountain Range especially, was an important area to be monitored. There were people watching it at every moment. The ground and the air, they were always on guard. It had been 2 years since Jiang Haixuan joined the surveillance center as an observer. For the past 2 years, as long as it was during working hours, she did not dare to be distracted in the slightest. Although this job was very boring, it concerned the safety of the entire Qinghe city. She remained focused on the computer screen. It was the same today. After the daily inspection of the surveillance cameras was completed, just as she was about to start over, a small black dot suddenly appeared on one of the images. It was a small black dot in the air. As a SN. Jiang Haixuan's eyes lit up. She controlled the mouse to zoom in on the image. Then, she continued to zoom in until she could get a clear look of what it was. A giant wolf with wings. Mutated beast. Such a big mutated beast. Without any hesitation, Jiang Haixuan pressed the alarm and sent the information to her superior. In less than 5 seconds, her superior's voice sounded in her headphones. Project the image onto the big screen. Yes, replied Jiang Haixuan as she quickly tapped on the keyboard. She projected the image to the large screen formed with a dozen wide screens at the front of the hall. Everyone's attention was immediately drawn to the giant wolf on the screen. They were shocked and startled. Mutated beast. Such a big mutated beast, it can't be a beast king, could it? It's flying towards the city. It's flying towards Qinghe City. TSS. Such a big mutated beast, its strength is definitely not simple. It's heading towards the city. Quick, intercept it. We can't intercept it. Everyone, look carefully at its back. A loud voice drowned out the discussions of the others and resounded through the hall. Its back. What's wrong with its back? Puzzled, Jiang Haixuan controlled the mouse and continued to zoom in. Ah! Exclamations broke out in the hall, and everyone's eyes widened. It's a human. There's someone on this flying wolf's back. It has been tamed. This flying wolf is the mount of this expert. You scared me. I thought the mutated beast was about to invade. TSK, I didn't expect such a powerful flying wolf to be tamed. When they saw that there was a person on the back of the flying wolf, the tense atmosphere in the hall instantly vanished, and was replaced with envy, shock and sighs. The director of the center also exhaled calmly. Although the City Defense Surveillance Center monitored the entire city and its surroundings, managing the sky, ground, and waters. In terms of real power, it didn't have much, similar to the Civil Affairs Center. They were all just providing service to facilitate the fastest transmission of information. The outside of the city was fine, they just needed to monitor the areas at all times. As for inside the city, they had captured many scenes of fights and battles in the city, but after reporting them to the City Guard and Martial Suppression Office, they were merely reviewed. Not to mention the number of surveillance cameras installed and destroyed on the alleys and paths. As a result, as time passed, the surveillance center only monitored the inside of the city and the captured images were kept as backup. However, surveillance outside the city was different. They were always vigilant and never relaxed. The appearance of the flying wolf mutated beast made everyone in the monitoring center nervous. When they realized that the flying wolf mutated beast had been tamed, they were all relieved. Who is this expert? Where did he come from? Do you guys think he's a 4th grade or 3rd grade martial artist? Probably a 3rd grade. This flying wolf mutated beast is definitely not something that a 4th grade martial artist can defeat. Only a 3rd grade martial artist can take care of it. Tisk, looks like this expert is doing this on purpose. He's swaggering into the city. If you didn't tell me, I really wouldn't have noticed. That's right, this flying wolf mutated beast isn't moving fast at all. It's flying so slowly on purpose. No way. The hall became lively. While everyone was monitoring their own screens, they stole glances at the giant wolf on the big screen and the figure on its back. They discussed excitedly in low voices. This matter made them nervous at the very beginning. But now, there was only curiosity. The person rode the flying wolf so slowly towards Qinghe City. What was his motive? It couldn't be a sightseeing trip, could it? The director of the center listened to his subordinates' discussions with a tight frown. He suddenly thought of something and picked up his phone to make a call. Soon, all the major factions in Qinghe City received the news. A suspected 3rd grade expert was riding a silver flying wolf beast towards Qinghe City. The Cross Star Alliance, Jade Sword Sect, Divine Fist Sect, Iron Thread Sect, Skywater Chamber of Commerce, Green Cloud Court, Shentian University, Martial Suppression Office, City Guard. The Zhou, Wang, Li and Qi families. All the upper echelons of the major factions received the news and walked out of their homes to an empty space or their rooftops. They held their phones in their hands to receive information at any time. 10 minutes later, the monitoring center sent a message to everyone. The flying silver wolf had entered the city. They entered the city from the west and flew at a speed of 60 yards. The flying direction was naturally a straight line. Whether this unknown wolf-riding expert was passing by Qinghe City or targeting a certain faction in Qinghe City would soon be known. The upper echelons of the various factions were nervous and expectant. Soon, another 10 minutes passed. The upper echelons of the major factions received another piece of news. The wolf-riding expert had passed through the western district, halfway to the central district, then changed directions and headed straight for the northern district. Instantly, the factions located in the southern and eastern districts heaved a sigh of relief and relaxed. Moments later, their spirits rose again and looked to the north happily, waiting for news. Su Jingxing, who had changed his appearance while riding on the giant silver-winged wolf, headed straight for the Qi residence under the attention of all the major factions in the city. Deliberately getting the giant silver-winged wolf to slow down. That's right, Su Jingxing had done it on purpose. Every city had city defense surveillance. To avoid being captured by the surveillance cameras, one had to be fast. In the past, Su Jingxing used to go in and out of the city at lightning speed. The surveillance cameras couldn't capture him at all. Even if they did, all they got was a white shadow. He made this trip to the Qi residence so public and high-profile to get everyone watching. The goal was simple, to promote the giant silver-winged wolf and the big white goose. He wanted to tell the major factions in Qinghe City that there was someone backing these two mutated beasts and that they should stop having ideas about them. Su Jingxing was already in the 3rd grade. He did not fear any of the factions in Qinghe City. Simply put, it was time to showcase his strength. Now that the big white goose had been captured by the Qi family, he could make an example out of them. The big white goose was a spiritual beast, so there was basically no need to worry about it being killed. As long as the Qi family weren't fools, they wouldn't do such a thing. Especially since the big white goose was very harmless and would almost never hurt anyone. Su Jingxing was most worried that the big white goose would starve itself. However, the physique of a mutated beast should be able to let it last for a few months, right? As Su Jingxing pondered, the giant silver-winged wolf had already arrived above the Qi residence. Qi family, Qi Mingqing. Greetings, senior. A firm voice suddenly sounded. Ah-oo-dash. The giant silver-winged wolf growled lowly and stopped in midair, flapping its wings. Su Jingxing lowered his head slightly and looked at the person who spoke. It was a middle-aged man who was standing on the roof, dressed in a martial arts uniform. Qi Mingqing. Su Jingxing, who also had the appearance of a handsome middle-aged man, spoke coolly with his long hair fluttering and a carefree aura. That's me. The middle-aged man, Qi Mingqing, cupped his fists and bowed. Please forgive us, senior. We already know our mistakes. I beg you to give us a chance. This is the Qi family's apology to you. As soon as he finished speaking, a group of people suddenly ran over on the ground. They formed groups of two and carried boxes to the entrance of the courtyard. After putting down the chests, they opened them to reveal their contents. Pills, spirit herbs, energy stones, spirit weapons, and so on. The items in the chest were actually of extraordinary value. If converted into money, they would cost at least 3 billion great dollars. Su Jingxing scanned through them. He had a use for most of them. Or rather, every martial artist in the top ranks could use these things. This was interesting. What do you mean by this? Su Jingxing asked even though he already knew the answer. He slowly released his suppression. This is our apology. Qi Mingqing braced himself and answered dryly, ignoring the sweat that was rolling down his face. Of course, there are also people who acted. Please decide their punishment on my behalf. At the same time, another group of people jogged out of the house behind them. Compared to before, this group of people were in pairs. Each pair carried a martial artist who was tied up to the entrance of the courtyard and put him down. However, due to the suppression that Su Jingxing released, the closer they got to the entrance, the more difficult it was for them to walk. When the dozen martial artists tied up were placed at the entrance, the others were also flushed red and covered in sweat. When they retreated, their eyes were filled with fear, and they did not dare to make a sound. Including the dozen martial artists tied up kneeling at the entrance, their bodies were trembling. And this was the result of Su Jingxing deliberately not releasing his suppression entirely. As the patriarch of the Qi family, even a fourth-grade martial artist like Qi Mingqing couldn't take it, let alone them. What is going on now? Su Jingxing's voice remained indifferent. However, when Qi Mingqing heard this, his heart raced. He swallowed his saliva and said with difficulty, Senior, they are the people who did the capturing. They. Wow. A sudden cry interrupted Qi Mingqing's explanation. Qi Mingqing's expression changed drastically. Ah-oo. The giant silver-winged wolf growled at the right time, its gaze fixed on the open door of a room not far away. Two martial artists were carrying a wooden stretcher with the big white goose on it. They were running towards the entrance of the courtyard. Behind them, a little girl was crying and shouting as she chased after them. However, after a few steps, she was stopped by two women. They picked her up, covered her mouth, and ran back into the room. Although her cries were temporarily suppressed, Su Jingxing's hearing was astonishing. He could still hear the conversation in the room. Little my, stop crying, stop crying. Stop crying, do you hear me? If you don't want us to die, shut your mouth. What are you saying? Why are you scaring little my? If I don't scare her, I might not even have the chance to do so later. Same goes for you, and you. All of us won't have a chance. Alright, cut it out. No one expected things to come to this. That's right. Who knew that the big white goose belonged to a third-grade big shot? Now, we only hope that this third-grade powerhouse won't take his anger out on us after taking the compensation. What about third brother and the others? Are we just going to let them die? Then what do you think we should do? Charge out and fight it out with a third-grade expert? I want to buy, I want to buy. Boo-hoo. Stop crying. Listening to the conversation with lowered voices in the room, Su Jingxing's countenance remained unchanged. He waved his hand and released his true essence, turning it into true energy that wrapped around the big white goose and flew it over. Ga. The big white goose quickly approached Su Jingxing. The moment it got close, it cried out in confusion. Ah-ooh. The giant silver-winged wolf growled in time, shaking its head and grinning. Ga. The big white goose flapped its wings and came in front of Su Jingxing. It carefully sensed his aura and nodded excitedly. Clearly, it recognized Su Jingxing. Although Su Jingxing had changed his appearance, his aura was still the same as before. On the other hand, Su Jingxing checked the big white goose and found that other than a slight fracture on its right leg, it was fine. It even seemed to be in good spirits and was not abused or imprisoned. Break one leg on each of them. Su Jingxing spoke coolly as he held the big white goose. Why yes. Qi Mingqing, who was covered in sweat and did not dare to make a sound, swallowed his saliva and waved his hand to signal the people below to take action. Su Jingxing retracted his suppression and watched as the group of people who rushed out earlier quickly ran back and rushed to the group of people kneeling on the ground, breaking one leg on every person. Throughout the entire process, the dozen or so people who were tied up remained silent. Even though their faces were pale and sweat was dripping down, their bodies trembling non-stop, they knew very well that if they were to scream at this critical moment, all their efforts earlier would have been in vain. It could be said that apart from a little girl, everyone in the Qi family was tense and fearful, not daring to reveal anything. When Su Jingxing changed his direction and headed towards the northern district, the Qi family knew that Su Jingxing's target was them. The existence of the giant silver-winged wolf in particular directly told them that Su Jingxing had come looking for them for the big white goose. They didn't know if Su Jingxing was a third-grade or fourth-grade martial artist, nor did they dare to take the gamble. Time was tight, and it was too late to retreat. All that was left was to give up resisting. If the person who came was a third-grade martial artist, choosing to fight head-on would be the stupidest method. On the contrary, giving up resisting might give them a slim chance of survival. In particular, the dozen or so people who had captured the big white goose had willingly come forward, volunteering to sacrifice themselves in exchange for protecting the other members of the Qi family. In addition, they brought out some of the Qi family's treasures from the past 100 years. There was a certain chance that they could survive this calamity. And the result did not disappoint them. Su Jingxing only wanted one leg from each of the dozen people involved in the capturing. The Qi family was very sincere, so Su Jingxing naturally wouldn't be ruthless and exterminate them. Initially, Su Jingxing had planned to make an example out of the Qi family, but unexpectedly, the Qi family had chosen to give up directly. Besides, there was a bunch of treasures, and the big white goose was not seriously injured, so Su Jingxing only gave them a simple punishment. Killing the innocent was not his hobby, after all. Swish. He grabbed all the chests from a distance and transferred them onto the back of the giant silver-winged wolf. Su Jingxing held the big white goose and turned to leave. Ah-ooh. With a long howl, the giant silver-winged wolf flapped its wings and flew west. Until the man and wolf disappeared into the horizon. Qi Mingqing slumped on the roof, drenched. Finally. Bang! It was also then that a gunshot suddenly broke the silence and reverberated in the air above the Qi residence. One, meaning, big white. Q. Mingqing, who had just relaxed, suddenly reached out and grabbed a small item. A bullet. A sniper bullet. A custom-made sniper bullet aimed at his head. If it weren't for the fact that Qi Mingqing had always been vigilant, even when he was relaxed, this bullet would have hit his brain. Without the protective true energy covering one's entire body, a special sniper bullet would be enough to kill a fourth-grade martial artist. Of course, this was when a fourth-grade martial artist was distracted or was disturbed by other matters. Ordinary sneak attacks and assassinations would not kill a fourth-grade martial artist so easily. After entering the mind-nourishing stage, a martial artist's perception would improve every day. They were extremely sensitive in predicting danger. Jingxing being ambushed was clearly an opportunity that the mastermind had specially found. When Jingxing was around, he wouldn't look at anyone. The moment Jingxing left and Jingxing relaxed, he fired. However, Jingxing was a fourth-grade martial artist after all. He caught the bullet with his bare hand in a flash. The next second, he leaped up and scanned his surroundings with murderous eyes. "Found you." With a low shout, Jingxing flew towards a building hundreds of meters away on the right side of the manor. On the roof, a black shadow was swiftly jumping off and escaping. What a coincidence! An enemy happened to come knocking on his door. Jingxing, who was listening to the commotion behind him, retracted his perception. He was slightly surprised by the ambush on Jingxing. The ambusher's timing was perfect. Jingxing hadn't been hit. It could only be said that he was quite powerful. Jingxing sighed and shook his head, no longer paying attention. The big white goose had been rescued, the Qi family had also paid the price. What happened to the Qi family afterward had nothing to do with him. He slowed down when he came and increased his speed when he left. Soon, Jingxing left Qinghe City with the big white goose and the giant silver-winged wolf and headed straight for the Green Cloud mountain range. Back in the valley where the big white goose lived, Jingxing brought down the chests on the back of the giant silver-winged wolf and opened them all to check them. Jingxing fed everything that the big white goose could use to it. He put everything that it could not use into his palm space. After tidying up, Jingxing checked the big white goose's injuries and fed it a bunch of essence energy pills. After confirming that its injuries were fine, he took out the two circular rings and placed them beside the big white goose, getting it to glow. Under the sparkling glow, the protective layer on the surface of the two rings quickly turned transparent until it disappeared, revealing the key patterns inside. Jingxing took in everything and then combined them together in his mind. After a while, his eyes lit up as he saw a burning 9 rings map. The 9 rings intersected and formed a circle. Raging flames surrounded each ring, emitting terrifying energy. The entire image seemed to be in his mind, but also seemed to be on the horizon. However, one thing was certain: only those with abundant mental power and powerful soul power could see this map. Upon seeing the 9 rings map, Jingxing instantly knew the origin of the 9 souls. Ring. The so-called fusion of 2 rings, 3 rings, 4 rings, the fusion of 9 rings was merely driven by soul power to control the 9 circular rings and embed them into the 9 rings map. With every successful installation, the 9 rings map would release its corresponding power. This was a powerful mental strength that targeted the soul. It would be a lie to say that Jingxing was not excited that he had discovered this secret. However, he quickly calmed down. According to the 9 positions on the 9 rings map, he placed the 2 rings in the adjacent empty slots. Buzz! His heart skipped a beat and his hands trembled. Jingxing opened his eyes and his consciousness returned. He looked at his hands. More accurately, the circular rings he was holding in his hands. Previously, there were 2, but now, there was only 1, a ring with a larger diameter and more patterns. 2 had fused into 1. Sensing the new circular ring, Jingxing quickly discovered that the energy fluctuations on it were extremely harmonious with his mind. Without using his soul power, he could ignite the flames by simply concentrating on the new ring. Whoosh! Flames that were not very big surrounded the new ring as they burned and danced. There was clearly no heat wave, but there was an invisible aura interfering with his brain. Under this aura, the intimidation of the martial art true intent seemed to have disappeared. A unique treasure. It was indeed a rare treasure to have such abilities with only 2 rings. Unfortunately, there are only 2. Out of the remaining 7, 1 was hidden somewhere by Shinqian's younger brother. 2 are in Si Wujio's hands, 1 is with the Li family, and the last 3 are without any clues. Thinking about it carefully, I only have a chance of obtaining the 2 in Si Wujio's hands and the 1 with the Li family. But the 1 from the Li family is in the hands of the first elder. The first elder of the Li family is mysterious and unfathomable, and no one knows where he is. Si Wujio is a 3rd-grade martial artist, so I'll have to take my time to plan how to snatch the ring from him. At this point, Su Jingxing sighed with emotion. After a while, he put away the new circular ring. "Brother Goose, I'm leaving. Are you going to stay here and recuperate by yourself, or are you coming with me?" "Recuperate at my house?" asked Su Jingxing as he looked at the big white goose. "Gga." The big white goose flapped its wings and soared into the sky. As it flew, it looked back at Su Jingxing. "Huh?" Su Jingxing was surprised. "You want me to follow you?" "Gga." The big white goose chirped happily. With an injured leg, it could not fly quickly or even fly high. It would even go crooked from time to time. "Alright, don't go so fast. You can slow down." Seeing this, Su Jingxing quickly followed. "Aou." The giant silver-winged wolf shook its head and followed behind in confusion. "Gga." The big white goose chirped happily and flew in a crooked manner towards the north of the valley. Along the way, all the other animals fled in panic. The big white goose led the way. Su Jing was in the middle, followed by the giant silver-winged wolf. A goose, a man, and a wolf finally arrived at a cliff. The steep cliff was hundreds of feet tall and extended for more than 1,000 meters. "There's no road ahead. Brother Goose, why did you bring me here?" Su Jingxing was puzzled. "Gga." The big white goose called out softly and continued flying to the left along the mountain wall. Seeing this, Su Jingxing could only continue to follow. The giant silver-winged wolf wagged its tail and followed behind in boredom. After another 10 minutes, the big white goose finally stopped in front of an uneven mountain wall. "Is there anything special here?" Su Jingxing looked around. Swish! The big white goose didn't respond. It only glowed and released a white light beam that shone on the mountain wall. Then, to Su Jingxing's surprise, the mountain wall covered by the light beam quickly turned transparent. Finally, it completely disappeared, revealing a deep and quiet entrance to a cave. 2 meters tall and 1 meter wide. Gga. The big white goose turned its head and called out to Su Jingxing twice before flying into the cave. Su Jingxing snapped back to his senses and followed behind it into the cave. "Ah-oo!" The giant silver-winged wolf also wanted to enter, but it was too big and could only fit its head inside. It couldn't help but cry out anxiously. "Brother Wolf, keep guard outside." "We'll be right out." Su Jingxing turned his head and comforted him. "Ah-oo dash." Helpless, the giant silver-winged wolf could only lie down at the cave entrance and shake its tail dejectedly. Su Jingxing held back his laughter and continued moving forward. The mysterious passageway was winding and deep. Su Jingxing only kept going deeper because he trusted the big white goose. Crack, crack. Before long, stones appeared on the ground of the passageway. Su Jingxing followed the big white goose as they walked. After a while, he suddenly realized that the width of the path had increased. Immediately, he walked faster, heading deeper. Crack. Crack. After walking for about 10 minutes, a cool breeze blew past. The scenery in front of Su Jingxing's eyes suddenly became brighter and bigger. Whoosh! What greeted his eyes was a spacious and open underground space. The space was huge and bright. A ray of light that shot in from somewhere illuminated the entire space well. Not only was there good vision, there was also outstanding ventilation. Su Jingxing stood at the entrance and could even feel a light breeze blowing towards him. The breeze carried a hint of fragrance, as if it was the fragrance of some strange flower. While it refreshed one's mind, it also made one feel exceptionally comfortable. TSK, I didn't expect there to be such strange scenery inside the mountain wall of the valley. Su Jingxing took a deep breath and scanned the entire underground space. A simple thatched cottage stood in the center. 10 steps away from the front door of the cottage, there was a stream about a meter wide that meandered through a few large stones. The gurgling sound of the stream echoed in the underground space, sounding extremely pleasant. On the bank of the stream were a few water-type plants with wide leaves. Su Jingxing watched for a moment and slowly walked towards the cottage. "Brother Goose, does anyone live here?" Su Jingxing shouted at the big white goose as he walked. His voice resounded in the underground space, but there was no echo. "Gga." The big white goose shook its head, flapped its wings, and pointed at the cottage. Seeing this, Su Jingxing quickly walked up to the cottage and pushed open the wooden door. His movements were very light, afraid of triggering any mechanism. However, the moment he opened the door, his pupils abruptly constricted. The thatched cottage was not very big. There were no tables, chairs or beds, only a lot of hay laid in the central area. At this moment, a snow-white skeleton was seated motionless on the hay mat. Its empty black eye sockets were facing the door, directly facing Su Jingxing. Su Jingxing blinked. He was a little surprised, but not frightened. "It's just a skeleton. It's not like I've never seen one before." After calming himself down, he walked into the house. Sweeping his gaze, he walked to a wall on the left and took off a silver-white robe with a rather special quality hanging on the wall. Rubbing it with his hand, he found that the robe did not show any signs of spoiling. He could not help but smile. Shaking the robe to remove the dust on it, he put it into his palm space. This robe was clearly not an ordinary piece of clothing. It was a custom-made outfit, a treasure robe. In ancient times, there were all kinds of precious clothes. They were for defense, support, or nurturing the mind. The functions of the one that Su Jingxing obtained were unknown for the time being. He would put it away first. He turned around and sized up the entire room. In addition to the skeleton that had been dead for an unknown period of time, there were 2 sealed black books in a corner of the room, as well as 3 white jade stones that emitted a faint silver glow and were only the size of a baby's fist. The jade looked to be of good quality, but Su Jingxing preferred the former. Immediately, he walked over, squatted down, picked up one of the books, and wiped off the dust on it. He blew on it and opened it gently. Then, a few bold words appeared. Tiangang Demon Suppression Hand, a soul skill. A soul skill. This black book was actually a soul skill. Su Jingxing's eyes lit up, and his right hand trembled as he flipped through the book. Su Jingxing never expected to pick up a soul skill after following the big white goose to this underground space. No, this soul skill isn't complete. There's only the upper half, and it's missing some parts. Su Jingxing quickly flipped through the pages and browsed through them. The incomplete upper half. If it were anyone else, it would really be useless. Su Jingxing was different. He had the deduction card, which was enough to make up for it. Therefore, the gains were not bad. Who_. He took a deep breath. After a while, Su Jingxing suppressed his racing heart, put away the book, and picked up the second one. Just as he stood up, he suddenly sensed something and looked down at the item under the second book. Circular rings. 3 identical, slightly rusted circular rings. 9 souls ring. Exclaiming in shock, Su Jingxing turned to look at the big white goose at the door. Gga. Gga. The big white goose jumped up and down, honking excitedly. It seemed to be asking, "Are you surprised? Are you happy?" "Happy, of course I'm happy." "Surprised?" "This is more than surprising." He never expected that the big white goose's objective in bringing him here was to give him the circular rings. The 3 unknown rings were actually in the cave in the mountain wall of the valley where the big white goose lived. Without the big white goose leading the way, almost no one would have discovered this place. After another 1,000 or 800 years, still no one would know. Who? Exhaling, Su Jingxing picked up 3 rings and thanked the big white goose at the door. "Thank you, Brother Goose." "GGA. GGA." The big white goose honked excitedly. Spiritual beasts were intelligent. The big white goose was even more outstanding. Su Jingxing saved it, then it saw the ring, and heard Su Jingxing sigh. Almost immediately, the big white goose recalled the straw cottage that it had visited out of curiosity in this underground space. The big white goose had seen the skeleton, the books, and the circular rings before. As for opening and closing the door, it was nothing to the big white goose. This was not a one-for-one, but just the big white goose's gratitude to Su Jingxing. Su Jingxing sighed with emotion. Instead of rushing to activate the circular rings, he flipped through the second book. The second book was not an ultimate martial art, but wrote about a martial arts theory. One about taking the path of a pure physical body. After stepping into the 4th grade, instead of using true fluid to nourish the mind, continue to build the body, strengthen it, and push the physical body to peak level, or even become a martial sage with the physical body's capabilities. Su Jingxing flipped through the pages and couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. The skeleton was undoubtedly a genius when he was alive. This was no longer creating his own martial arts, but creating a new path. If it succeeded, it would bring about a revolutionary change to future martial artists. Instead of using true fluid to nourish his mind, become a martial sage with his physical body. A genius, or crazy idea. Thanks to Yu Donglu, Su Jingxing already knew what was going on in the top ranks and the transcendent grade. The most important thing about a first-grade martial artist was not the diversity of martial art true intent or the abundance of true essence. Instead, it was condensing a divine embryo. Only by condensing a divine embryo could an essence soul be born. Yet this skeleton sought to replace the essence soul with the physical body when it was alive.